It is a Thursday. Good afternoon and welcome to the National AIDS Council HIV and COVID-19 webinar. Too many young people today receive confusing and often conflicting information about relationships, issues of sex, and they face as they try and transition from being youth into adulthood. They are supposed to have conversations with parents, and these conversations are never easy. On the show today, we are looking at the issue of youth, parents, and sex education. As a country, the government has already rolled out comprehensive sexuality education, which is meant to give young people age-appropriate, comprehensive sexuality education. And there have been so many myths and misconceptions around the issue of comprehensive sexuality education, particularly with parents not being comfortable in terms of what are our children being taught within the school system, within the curriculum when it comes to comprehensive sexuality education, thereby also presenting challenges where would then expect parents to complement teachers in terms of rolling out CSC within the home environment and helping us to dissect this issue. Today we have young people themselves who are going to be sharing with us their own perspectives. We have on the show Louis. I was saying Louis and he insisted that is Louis. So I'm sure he's going to be speaking to us in French. Louis Aperezuka. We also have Chidadiso Mbazo and Matthew Tawodzera. We also have someone from Lesotho as well, Reyaboka. They are all Zimbabweans with these interesting names. Young people, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I want to start off with you, Chidadiso.
All right.
When we are talking about comprehensive sexuality education, what is your own understanding as a young person? What is your own understanding of comprehensive sexuality education and how does it help you?
Okay, so when we're looking at comprehensive sexuality education, it's basically being taught about sex because we realize that as youths we are growing, and as we grow, hormones, rage and stuff like that. So we need to know how to handle sex and stuff like that. And I believe that if you are taught about that, it's actually easier to maneuver through teenagehood because you just have the lessons that you got either from your parents or teachers. And in that way, I think we can actually reduce even the unwanted teenage pregnancies and all that sort of stuff.
She's saying they're being taught about sex. I'm going to hear from other young people. I have the proper definition of comprehensive sexuality education, and I want to hear how you are going to unpack it. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, when we talk of sex education, we are actually talking about the enlightenment on sexual issues that affects humans, and youth are also included. So they are, in this case, it is particular to youth. So I believe it is an enlightenment when these youths are receiving information that is to do with sex and their sexuality. Thank you.
Okay. So what's the difference between sex and sexuality?
Okay.
Because from what you are saying, it goes back to where parents have concerns to say, about sex kuchikoro. Because we are being taught about sex.
Okay, when we look at that, right, as youths, we understand what we call it sex education. And so when we are talking about sex education, sema youth, we actually think of it as about your sexuality, about your hormones, and about how you are beginning to feel, about the developments PaBonde yako, you know, kana kuti ndakukura, so ndikufana kuziva zvokuitika pamwiri wangu, and so this is what we are trying to consider when we are talking about sex education, right? So it's not necessarily all about having sex, but about me as an individual. Ndakuva from my young age, ndakuenda from an older age, whereby my body is beginning to change. I'm beginning to crave for and my body is beginning to change in different ways. Yeah.
Riabok, your own understanding.
Okay, in my own understanding, sex education is whereby I'm being taught about sex. Okay, it's a opportunity into adulthood, right? ipapapo nengechidzidziswa nekuti ndakutokura. I'm now going to adulthood. Kumele ngizwisise ukuthi sengifike estage sona leso. Yikuyini okumele ngikwenze, yikuyini okumele ngingakwenzi. Right, mina imenya ngizazi ukuthi for now mina sengisenza lokho. I'm not engaged to sex. So sasikhangelela ukuthi ku sex education sifundiswe nge-sex.
Aywa, kulungile. Then looking at issues of sexuality education, because with what the schools are rolling out is sexuality education, which includes issues that Louis spoke about, just understanding your body as a young person. With my parents, when it comes to nyaya idzodzo dzekuti semskana kuti even kutanga zvinotangira pakuti kuita mabreasts, kuya kweperiod, kumera vhudzi panhengo dzakasiyana, mwiri wako zviri easy here, muri kuzvitaura here nemaparents kuti munzwisise mwiri wako as you transition from being a young person into adulthood? Ndotanga newe Chidadisi.
Well, I could say looking at traditionally, we used to have like people would live in extended families and would have the aunties and the uncles who were responsible for sexuality education. They basically took us through that. But now looking at the fact that extended family, it's no longer common. It's now nuclear family. We have maybe our parents who work and stuff like that. So most of the times you're alone as kids. And I think there are times, well, there are some parents who actually miss that stage. And you actually get to a point where you see, okay, period, you're seeing blood. And you literally know nothing about that. So I think it's the age we're living in. I feel like it's not being done enough. Yeah, and I feel like in a way, abazali, they're like neglecting their children and not addressing those issues.
What Chidadiso is saying is the major challenge that we often have as parents in terms of at what age, at what time do we start those conversations nevana vedu kuti mwana azive kuti anzina chitatu zvongozoona blood papendi rako woshaya kuti zviri kubva kupi, because sevabereki sometimes we find it difficult. Taimbova nana tete, taimbova nekuti vakomana vanoendeswa kwana sekuru. Matthew, weti ndiri murongo uya wakungoona wanyorovesa magumbezi, zviri kubva kupi? Muri kuita here maconversations iwayo nevabereki? And kana nchiti vabereki ndosa baba naamai, because sezvataurwa naChidadiso hakusisina tete, hakusisina sekuru, because we are all scattered now. So you find kuti role iyoyo besides kuti yaitwa kuchikoro through my comprehensive sexuality education amunoita through guidance and counseling, ayaya kumba zviri kumira sei, because ndiko kwatiri kuti ndo kwazvinotangira ikoko.
Okay, thank you ma'am. Chokwadi ndechekuti nyaya dzakadaro hadzisi kubatwa, dzinotarisirwa dzichinzi dzinonyadzisira. Zvizhinji zvinotaurwa nezvenyaya idzi zvinenge zvinonyadzisira, but facts are facts, they will remain stubborn.
Chinenge chinzi chinonyadzisira maybe.
Nyaya dzinechekuita nebonde, ndinoimba patinochitaura nyaya dzesex education. This is not only the issues like sex.
Yeah.
Kune dzimwewo nyaya dzinobata bonde dzisiri bonde pacharo. Nyaya dzakaita sezvirwere, HIV and AIDS. I would say SRH issues. Sexual reproductive.
Kuti apa tiita saka zvinotangira pakuti iwewe semukomana nhengo yako chaiyo painochinja ichitanga kukura, uchitanga kubreka voice rako riya. Zvese izvozvo uri kufanira kunge uchizviudzwa nditi. Uchizonzi pawavapa ukangoita musikanzo yakati wakwanisa kumitisa musikana. Ani munomunzwa kunzi 14 year old amitisa musikana. Ndopati kuti ipapo zviri kubva here tichienda ipapo, not just izvozvo but zvese zvokuti even zviri kusanduka pamwiri wako sezvataurwa naChidadiso zvokuti kuenda kuperiod chaiko kwemusikana. Vabereki vari kuita here conversation idzodzo? Toda kunzwawo zvakare kwamuri imi vakomana kuti tichitarisa kuti izvozvo zvine zvichiitika pamuviri wako iwewe, vana baba or even vana mai vari kutaura nemi here kuti iwe uzive kuti kana izvi zvakuitika handina kuitira wiwi magumbeze, pane something chatoitika pandiri, kuti unzwisise zvese izvozvo?
Nyaya dzakadaro hadzimbobatwi, kana dzichibatwa ndevashoma vanobatwa nadzo nyaya idzodzo. Nekuti kumubereki anonzwa saakutaura nemwana wake zvinyadzi, zvinoita kuti pamwe anonzwa kunge akuzozvipa platform yekuzoattracta disrespect, because ndasheya newe nyaya dzine chekuita nekukura kwauri kuita, kuti wakuzokurawo kana vari baba toti ndina baba wangu ndiri mukomana, kana uchinzwa kukura kuita murume mukuru, saka pakundiudza kuti ukaona zvakadai zvakuratidza kuti wamurume mukuru zvinenge uri kunditi ndatova murume mukuru kuti kunge kuzvichallenge sababa kuti kana ndikakuti wakukura kuita baba unenge wakunzi saka mana vana baba 2 mumba saka dzimweni dzenguva ndo zvinoita kuti nyaya dzakadaro dzisabatwa saka I'm saying they are not thoroughly being touched those issues.
Yeah, Lou.
Right. Growing up in a Christian family, and it viraru mwana mdiki usually paunoita wet dream and it usually dream about sex and it so growing up in a Christian family ndakaudzwa nzizvo nenguchirara nemadhimoni.
Oh my goodness.
So ndakapedzera inini personally I'm speaking from experience ndakapedzera ndakuzvi exclude personally so nyaya dzikubatwa kwadzo zvako hakusi kubatwa and then ndakanzizvo nyaya yekuti uchaita musikana unofanira kutanga wandudzwa wapedza form 4 anditi ndapedza form 4 alright ndichakudza ndapedza form 4 form 4 ichingopera mama ndapedza form 4 ndichiita musikana ndikanzi iwe
Songo wakamirira here kuti kaunti wakatomuita ukavavanzira.
Ndakatomuita ndikamuvanzira because andambopuwa mukana wekunyatsotaura nditi. Pane zvimwe zvinhu zvandanda kunzwa zvazvakuitika pandiri anditi. Saka pane zvimwe zvinhu zvokuti you need to talk to your parents about anditi. You need to talk to them but ukada kuenda kwavari manje unotoshaya kuti ndotaura sei because havana kukupa that platform yekuti no mwanangu yatitaure nyaya idzi anditi. Unenge uchingonzwa unzi ukangopa right for example ukaona movie inenge ine PaBonde anditi pane there's a time yekuti waitonzi vana vadiki chibudai ngoyekuti murare yakwana but ndato in adolescence ndatoita my wet dreams. The first time I had my wet dreams inini ndakatora magumbezi ndikamaviga just because ndaitya kuti alright saka how can I explain this saka usually saka these conversations dzekuti are we really having conversation with my parents, my mother, my father about sex and sex education it is really done and nyangwe ndatokura kudai so aditotaurike conversation yacho iyoyo.
Unoziva watondibata ipapa ndakati mwana wangu oso ndikati zvemaboyfriends tozitaurawo ne16 saka ndakufunga kuti saka akamuita here akasanduza.
Alright.
Yaboka, from your own experience as well, how has it been?
It's hard to kutaura nyaya dzakadai nemaparents hanti because mafamilies ane mabeliefs awo hanti sei inini ndiri musikana ndogona kupinda muperiod maybe family yangu inopinda muperiod kana yavata nemukomana saka papa ndapinda muperiod ndoudzani maybe tete kana varipo kana mama then mama ovati isusu kufamily kwedu toita sei topinda muperiod kana tavata nemukomana itova yava nyaya iyoyo kuti wapinda sei muperiod usati wavata nemukomana totangira ipapo.
I think if we've got parents who are actually watching, this is a wake-up call to us from what young people are saying. These wrongly held cultural beliefs, I don't know what to really call them. We heard from Louis where wet dreams, something that's actually scientific. For him, he was told kunzurkurara nemadhimoni. And once period yako yatanga, it means warara nemunhu. Because akumba kwedu atiite period kana usati warara nemunhu. Then what does it do to the young person when we are talking about promoting open conversations between parents and their children? Because what we want to see is an empowered young person who can be assertive, practice their own agency and make sure they protect themselves from issues like HIV infections, from STIs, even from unwanted pregnancies. But if we're not having those conversations with our children, who is going to have the conversations with them? So kana takatarisa isusu imimi sevana vadiki, alright, toti kuuya kwaita comprehensive sexuality education chinzi maakudzidza kuchikoro zvoadresa izvozvo zvokuti toboti maparents ari kuzviwana zvichinzi zviri kunetsa kuti vadi vataure nemi, mungati zvinga CSE iri kuuya ichikubatsirai sei kubvisa maproblems amuri kusangana nawo iwayai?
Well, I think looking at the fact that, okay, we learn sexuality education at school, right? But then I believe that sex education, we don't learn that at school. Because you can't have teachers coming and saying, well, it's actually rare about that. So I think it would be great if we actually could move from that, because it's actually difficult to actually, okay, seeing I'm on my periods and I don't even know about this, or I think it's better kuti I know what I'm going through and like what I can actually do to, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I need to even know how to place a pet, because even if it's school, okay, I can learn about, all right,
So effectively uri kuti ngazvidzidziswe kumba chikoro chongozoita secondary than kuti titi kuchikoro ndokwazviri kunyatsoningirikirwa kumba vozocomplimenta. You are saying ndidzidzisei ndiri kumba.
yes, because I believe kuti, all right, at school we learn with like the teachers, they can teach us about that, but my teacher won't teach me to an extent ukuthi uzamfundisa ukuthi pet ndifaka kanjani.
Yes.
Or if I'm having period pains and stuff like that. So I think it's just better ukuthi sifunde ezindlini. That way, at least if it's from your parents. I mean, parents, we are closer to our parents than our teachers. So I believe that way we would have made a good move.
That's really a challenge to parents, where young people are saying, as much as we receive all these comprehensive sexuality education, issues to do with their own sexual and reproductive rights, understanding their bodies, as much as they can receive it from school, they actually prefer that as parents we play a leading role. Matthew, uri kuiona sei iyo nyaya yekuti maproblems iwaya mataura kuti ndo amunosangana nawo anga addresswe here nedzidza kuchikoro, kana kuti you still feel kuti kumba ndokwa zvinofanirwa kunge zvakawandira?
Kana mapa mukana wekuti kumba ndokwa zvinofanirwa kunge zvakawandira, ndotenda kuti ngazviwandire kumba, because it is home where I have got my basic needs met. Kuchikoro is actually one of the places wekuti kana ndaikoko it's no longer time yekuti ndinofanira kusangana zvinhu zvinyowani, because I believe kuti much more of my time ndenge ndakaitora ndiri kumba. Madevelopments anenge achiitika anonyanya kuitika ndorara kumba inini. Kana ndichiita wet dream ndoita ndiri kumba, kureva kuti vari kumba ngavandiudze. So kana zvichizobuda zvizhinji, sorry to say this, but zvizhinji zvinobuda kana takutukwa kuti kana makumera vhudzi pese pese mofunga kuti makura, so ndomotozviziva kuti ndamera vhudzi pese pese. So you know, saka I would think deep, because I know my consequences and the impact. Like now, okay, you know kuti kana ndamera vhudzi kwese kwese, kureva nezvimwe zvinomboitika kwandiri munotozviziva, and then you don't address it. Kureva kuti ndakutanga kutsvaga information kuma wrong sources, vari kumerawo vhudzi kwese kwese vezera rangu kuti muri kuzoonawo sei nyaya yakaita seiyi. So at the end of the day, I'm now misbehaving according to them. But I was born that way. Kana zvikadzidziswa kumba kunaka kwazvinenge zvakaita ndekwekuti vakandigezesa ndisati ndakutomboziva, vakandibvisa zvinhu zvaisemesa. Saka handitombonyanya kuva nyara kudarika kuchikoro. Kuchikoro kwekuti ndikuti ticha wengazo ndimakira bhuku rangu. Ngazo ndio munondidzidzisa zvinhu zvekuti ndechiti mai we zvakuti vanga ri kuadvocatera for musikanzwa. So at the end of the day, tinoti ngazvitangire kumba uye zviwandire kumba. Thank you.
Yes, Louis.
Right.
Really, you are really challenging parents kuti ngazviwandire kumba. But sevana vadiki munombotaura here, maybe Louis ngatitarise izvozvo, munombovaudza here maparents kuti mutiudze kuti izvi ndo zvatiri kutarisira, kana kuti muri kuti imimi sevabereki ingei muri kutozviziva kuti ndizvo zvatinenge tiri kuda?
Alright, zvinoitika mumba ndezvekuti chatotarisa ndechekuti inini handikwanisi kungoenda kuna mama ndobva ndati mama onai zvaitika, kana kuti daddy vari kubva kubasa vakaneta ndondati daddy nhasi pandamuka ndine ma-wet dreams handiti, but as they do it kuti chikafu ndinoerekana ndangochiona chavepo, handiti this is the same role yatiri kutarisira from the parent, handiti kuti mama vanouya kwandiri, mwanangu wasvika pa12 pane chakati chakadaiso chamboitiko here kwauri? Mama hapana, handiti unoza mwana wako paunotanga kuita zvinhu izvi zvika because of hormones mabehaviors anotanga kuchinja, handiti I'm now becoming a youth, I'm becoming munhu wakuti I'm growing from being a child, handiti mwana mudiki kuti ndakunzwisisa zvimwe zvinhu, handiti saka mega separent unotozvona kuti no mwana wangu a behavior yakadai yakuchinja, so I can't go kwamuri because number one effect yemahormones futi kunyara, handiti so ukaona kuti mwana wangu ngonyara angozvivharavhara as a parent ukauya ukanditi mwanangu what is happening, inini I would feel comfortable kuti mama onai ndiri kunyara because ndaona chakati chaitika, kwete kuti unonzi iwe wakuzvivharira imomo kuzviona unge imba inoinda yako, you see, but pane zvinenge zvichiitika, you understand, ndiri kukura, handiti ndiri kukura, makapfuura nepo
imukuzvaririre imba imomo.
Aiwa pane nguva dzekuti you know, trukukura makapfura neyo nguva iyoyo maparents anditi.
Yes.
So you are the guide yekunditi zvonzo no mwanangu. You know, ukatanga kuudzwa zvinhu building a relationship namai vako ever since paunotanga kudai soka kana nababa vako. Paunozosvika at the age yekuti zvonzo kana kuti wakunzwi mama inini ndakunzwa udaita musikanaka handiende kune a peer ndobva ndati sha onaka inini ndiri kunzwa so because a peer the next thing chakudza kuti wangu ka zvaendwa izvi chitoita handiti so inini ndobva ndati so all right but ukaenda una mama I've done this dad I've done this all right mwanangu so wadai so saka zvofana kufamba so kana kuti mwanangu zvakati zvaitika here kwauri handiti zvaitika so ukufunga uyatigare tese titaurirane tinzwisisane handiti wakukura mwanangu ukona wakuita wet dreams zviri kuratidza zvonzvo wave munhu wekuti zvonzvo wakukwanisa kumitisa maadvantages ekuita musikana nekusaita musikana akadai so you know rather than kuti zvonzvo ndoenda ndonozvidzidzira kuchikoro handiti kuchikoro eventually they are not going to say everything handiti they are going to say part of it and because a school is a model yekuti you have to feel comfortable around saka ukaona teacher akuuya nyangwari guidance and counseling achikuti mukuona pane zvakati mega munopedzera makuti this teacher anditi so something from the source and the charity begins at home anditi so let it be shown by our parents kuti zvonzvo no we are growing so as you are growing you need to have a conversation like this
nambonani kuright ukuthi kuqalele endlini ngoba ngisesikolo what if ngifundiswa umbalisi oyindoda ngiyamqalela ngaphi ukuthi ngithi selapha sembonani i-period ngiyamqalela ngamuntu oyindoda ngisehle ukuthi umama uyabengakaza akhulume lami endlini even layo baba uyabengakaza ayibambe leyo ndaba so ukuthi mphongo uqala ngithi sengisesikolo sembona i-period sengigijima sensiya kumbalisi ngifundiswa umbalisi oyindoda ngiyamqalela ngawo oyindoda at least bengasiqala bona emakhaya bengifundise ngiyasengikwazi ukuthi okay ngangena ku-period ngiyalanda umbalisi ongumfazi lo besikolweni kumbe enxani sendlini at least ngiyalanda ubani umama I guess kungcono ngaleyo ndlela ukuthi besiqalisele endlini than ukuthi siyefunda ezikolo ngoba esikolo siyasilanda imfundo not ngokocansi.
Really for me that's an advocacy message from young people where they are challenging us to say they would want to learn everything from home, from us as parents. They have been unanimous. What I want to then find out from you as young people is, are you free to share everything with your parents? If not, what is difficult for you to share with parents, and how can then that also be addressed? Let's say parents say, okay, we are all to discuss everything with you. Are you also free to talk to your parents and say, okay, today I was with my boyfriend, today I had my first kiss, today we what, you know, all those nitty-gritties that happen with the changes that happen with the body and those initial feelings that you start feeling as an adolescent, starting with you, Gladys.
Okay. Well, okay, so personally, when I was growing up, my mother would tell me, Kuti, no boys, you're too young. I think even like at home, I think you weren't even supposed to date till like you're like 18 or anything like that and stuff. So I think even if you get to a point where you're 16 and you're like, but I like this boy, you know, I might even consider doing that. But then you think, Kuti, at home, mom would see, I will have a fana, because our fana vanje. I remember I went to my former primary school when I just finished writing my A-level exams, and the teacher who had taught me was the headmistress at the time, and she saw me and she was like, sukulile, katasa someli and the fan. Or like just don't play with boys because our fan was and stuff like that. So I feel like at some point we are not able to have those conversations because looking at how we are brought up, are brought up to believe, Kuti, okay, I think that other girls actually even believe you've become pregnant. So you end up being scared of boys and stuff like that. And even if you get into a relationship, even at 18, you're actually afraid, Kuti, if I start talking, like what will happen? Like, even my mom, if I told you about my boyfriend, I think she's the kind of person who would say, if I don't do anything well at home, so to avoid those kind of conversations, I would rather keep quiet. But then if given a scenario whereby, okay, our parents are open to us about that. From a young age, we're actually aware of the fact that, okay, I can go to my mom and talk to her about absolutely anything. I think even if I get to a point where I'm in a relationship, I get to a point where I get my first kiss or whatsoever, I'll come home and still tell you, Kuti, Mom, this has happened. That's why I think you discover, Kuti, I have a lot of friends who would come to me and say, she wants to go and see her boyfriend. It should be like, hair cover for me or something. We end up lying to go out because we know, even at 19, you lie to go out because that's how you've been brought up. You've been brought up to believe that dating is a bad thing or something like that. So I think if parents really were open and could have conversations like that, like those with us from a young age, it actually is better. When we get older, we're actually able to tell them absolutely anything. That way, we would actually move forward complacently.
Thank you. Yeah, Matthew, for you, how is it?
Thank you so much. I believe as we are growing, because we are still growing, our needs that are basic are turning out to be more than what we used to have. Ndinoda kudya, ndinoda kupfeka, ndoda kurara, ndoda kudini, but izvozvi zvazowanda. Haisisiri nyaya yekudya chete, haisisiri nyaya yekupfeka chete, nyaya yezvimwe zvine chekuita nekukurawo kwandiri kuita. So my needs are now according to my age. But it appears as if vabereki vedu vanenge vachititi, you are not yet responsible. You are not yet responsible. So they don't want me, or they don't want to equip me in information. Not responsible in line in nyaya dzine chekuita ne sexuality and sex. Like they're like, okay, tikakupa information, what is the next thing? You act according to the light that you have. So that light will eventually lead you into some other things. So it's not that you feel uncomfortable to even ask sex and sexuality. So nemwenzi vabereki vakuguruma matsotsi because unodzimara ukiribidwa wandisa uri kubva pakuti muri kutivigira zvinhu. So we do it behind your back so that I don't disrespect. You see now. So at the end of the day, totanga kuona kuti zvimwe zvinhu zvanozoti misikanzwa, they are not misikanzwa as such. Zvinhu zvavakadevelopa vakanti grower imwe ability yangu in the negative yekuti I open up not to them, to the other side, to my peers. I open up not to them, to my peers. And to my peers, they are not yet wise. They are not yet experienced. Because are not experienced the best teacher, yet they are not yet experienced. They are experimenter. We are all experimenting. We are all experimenting because we have never been exposed to such information. And the curiosity, neziwe yekuti aida tombonzwa kuti zvinoita sei. Ndakanzwa kuti ukadai zvinodai, ukadai zvinodai. Ndosaka mchona kuti musika zvanorambidzwa ndozvanoda kuita. Amukanditi uite udai andilanga chandotomboita. But ndirambidze ingoti usa chawati usa ndautombonzwa kuti usa
sei muri kundirambidza
that curiosity, you see. So at the end of the day we are saying we have to sit again, have this conversation with our parents, open up and totanga cooperate tiri mu light. Thank you.
I think next time zvakatokosha kuti imi makagara kuona kwenyuko toita vabereki vakagara kudi imwe kuona munyatsokuvaudza ivo vachitaurawo makonsenzi avo kuti kana tichikudzai kuti zvakati zviri kubva pakuti but what I like this matichallenge kuti imi makabvawo ikokoko you know saka toita kuti isusu takadzidzira saka ndosaka tisingachadi kuti imi mudi muite izvozvo. Yes, Louis.
All right. Do you know inene zvangu maonero andinoita right now, I don't think we would feel comfortable telling our parents that. Why? Dakutasanya age. Right now, I'm now 19. I'm turning 20. And you can't come. I can't come to you right now. Kuti mama, I now have my 43rd girlfriend. And it means wakatanga kuita read muskana. And I no longer feel comfortable. But ndikatanga, if we start having the conversation, chiri mwana mdiki, muchibvisa these misconceptions about gender and sexuality. Kuti ukatamba nemskana, unonzi ukangotamba nemskana chete atoita numbu. And so because of that, no, why should I go and tell the mama, and right now I'm doing this, mama, this has happened to me, and it cannot, mama, I'm beginning to feel this, and it. So ukatanga kuuzo chiri mwana mdiki from as tender as 8 years handiti ndipo pawakutanga kunyatsorizina handiti kuti you know zvinhu zvakamira so wakukura handiti saka that moment you create a certain bond handiti nemwana wako handiti saka ukatarisa kuti zvonizvo you're expecting a 19-year-old boy kana girl kuti auye kwaure obva kuti mama inini right now handisi kuda kunyeperaika inini ndiri kutobva kunorara naJennifer asi hapana ndirara naJennifer I don't want to lie I don't trust that girl pane zvaitika zvangu
ka at 19 here naye Louis vedu naye mwana
mukozvinzwisisa at 19 why I'm now doing this at 19 is handina kukwanisa kuwana a conversation nemi ubvira ndiri mwana mudiki handiti then ndakawana a conversation ubvira ndiri something like 10 about sex sexuality about me handiti as an individual handiti my father sitting here my mother sitting here telling kuti Louis this handiti and then ndabva ndaziva kuti these are the advantages and these are the consequences because hanzi too much of a good thing is bad handiti if you eat too much sweets unopedzera wane mazina akaora handiti so anondoudza kuti yes sex is good but eventually it will lead to this and yes Louis you are growing up but eventually you have to know kuti zvonizvo you now have responsibilities and what is happening to your body is actually telling you kuti it's a sign of responsibilities responsibilities pakureva kuti chi you are now responsible of what you are going to do out there and you are now responsible of what is going to happen to your body what is going saka if I get that from a tender age I'll feel comfortable to come to my mother and say mama this is what's happening but if I don't get it from as early as that and then mozonditi right now after having this wakunditi mwanangu yakuno kutimbotaura saka uri kunzwa sei izvezvi ndinoti mama I'm okay because I've already got the knowledge that I needed from somebody else but you don't know which knowledge did I get which is it bad is it good and so it begins as a young child the relationship, create a bond, create a relationship, and then we'll feel comfortable. But now, I don't think I'll tell my mom.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
You tell your mom, will you discuss with your father within the home, let's say after dinner, sit with them and talk about these issues. Shinoboda.
Hazvibude. Ipapapo vachafunga kuti I'm disrespectful. One, avanambondiudza nenyaya idzodzo. Ndakutovhunduka hangu takagara mutepu ndakutomuka nenyaya iyoyo kuti okay mama ini ndava neboyfriend in fact maybe uyu achova we3 and how inini vasati vandiudza nenyaya iyoyo and so ukuqalela phansi I guess kuqakathekile ebazalini ukuthi beqale lathi phansi kwenza ukuthi lo basengifike ezingeni lwalelo ukuthi semfuna ukukhomba mina sengakhuluma labo ngikhululekile but ngingaphonga ukuthutsha kathesi hawu bengazange khona bangiqala yena ngokwakhe ngiyaqalela ngaphi sihlele etafuleni
quite interesting what our young people are saying and for them they are saying when we're looking at reality at the moment they are not comfortable to talk to us as parents because we have not created that enabling environment where they are free to talk to us. Let's go on when we are looking about issues of sex and young people now, where we have reports that are confirming that sexual debut, I think I read somewhere where they're talking about it at 11, some saying 13, and you are youth advocates. I would want you to share with us your experiences from working with other young people, because definitely when they're talking to you, they are more free and they'll tell you, no, we are already doing it. We are already what. How is the situation out there? And are young people equipped enough to understand that as much as they can start indulging as young as 13, 14, there is HIV, there are STIs in the world that we are living in?
Okay, so from my own experiences, I think I've actually come across, I have had youths who actually start engaging as early as 14. That's where we come to a point where we have teen pregnancies. From like, especially with the coming of COVID, I remember I'm from Bulawayo. At Impilo, there were like a huge number of young girls who were pregnant. Not just 16-year-olds, maybe, but as early as 12. So they start indulging from that age.
Who are they having sex with?
On that issue, it's
tricky.
I won't say it might be. It's probably maybe even some of their peers or the older boys, because that's what happens. Like, let's say a 12-year-old has a 17-year-old boyfriend. So the guy is likely to lure her into sex because she's young and she's naive, and that kind of thing. So they are indulging. That's the honest truth. And in terms of HIV and STIs, I think I've realized that most youths are more concerned about pregnancy more than HIV and STIs, because you find someone having unprotected sex, the next time you hear them, I need to get morning afters, they're thinking about what? Pregnancy. What about HIV? Yes. What about HIV? What about what about the STIs? Yes. I've actually had young girls who tell me, like, you're 18, can you please go and buy morning afters for me? As young as they are. Then I'm like, okay, so do you guys test? Because I think sometimes it's usually the spur of the moment. Things happen then you don't bother going to get PAP, so that you can at least protect yourself from HIV. And then you worry about pregnancy, you don't worry about HIV, because I feel like you can have, like, I think it's better sometimes to actually be more cautious. Yes. And there are so many myths also surrounding all of this. You know, you hear young girls saying, I'm a virgin, breaking a condom and stuff like that. It's more painful. So when we get to there, it's actually hard. And considering the fact that an 18-year-old is dating an 18-year-old, she can't really convince him to say, okay, let's go and test. Yeah. He might actually even refuse. So, it's bad.
It's bad. Yes, Matthew.
Thank you, ma'am. Back to Boera, where I come from, they've, at some point, those of my age, the young people, and the fake condom are 20 feet. These young boys, they are so radical. They are into it, I'm telling you.
They are into it.
Are into it. You have to take sort of yato slogan. Are into it. And the fit a condom. So I'm saying these guys, they are into it. They are so wild. Like uchakwanza kwa Zora. We were at some point we were advocating for abstinence. Hey, ausi baba wake ndo chimwe chezimwe, ausi mai wake ndo chimwe chezimwe. So zvakutangeti tato rehabilitation centers, even as young advocates, anoya kwauri kudza kuti yes I engage, but zvatoitika ndoti anona kuya kwauri ane STI, you refer him kwakadai, chinda kuchipatara unoona woenda kunoonekwa iko because I'm not a medical somebody. Yes. They will be like, saka uri kuntaurira kuti ndonoona, because it's a community. Yes. They already know kuti kuna mining ndowe pa next door. So ano prefer kufa zvake, anoti rufu nyadzi dzinokunda rufu, you see. So I'm saying these issues tozoenda kuma teenage pregnancies. Yeah. Zviri kungobva pakuti hatisi kudiscussa nyaya dzachona ana mai nana baba. Dzinozongoya surprise yanhumbu ndipo watanga uchidzidziswa kuti kana wadai manje kuzvinora kuti wababa zvinhu zvamakadai makandidzidzisa prior the experience. Yes. But ndiri kuzoona ndatone nhumbu, I'm now responsible. Ndipo panotanga kutanga vari consent. Vakuchitanga kukudzidzisa zvinhu zveupenyu hwekuva baba, yet vaifana I'm already a father, don't even tell me. Dai kuri kunzi idenga negena, I would say I'm now in here, you are saying do good. Azvichabatsiri. So vazhinji vacho very combined. These issues, they don't stand on their own. There is issue of drug abuse. Yes. Some of which they do not, some of these guys, they do not go by their senses. I mean, kuti asiri munhu chaichai, unenge uchitorana nedoro. Kana uchitorana nempanje. Because zvinhu zvakawandisa vakafa socially. Yes. Vakafa zvekuti havana unanombovataudzwa nyaya dzakadaro. Yet ndo nyaya chadzo dzinonyatso affect my real issues. Ekuti all right, I'm a psychological somebody, but nobody is taking care of my psychology aspect of life. Yes. So at the end of the day, I find some alternatives. My alternatives ndo my peers. My peers, what will they be doing to entertain me and at the same time to take care of my psychological needs? Vanenge vachinipa information which is not actually information. It's hormonal information. Something that is led by hormones. Kuti ndiri kufila so. Kusvika pato nesling like anti mukufila sei. Zviri kubva pakuti I go by what I feel. Yes. I go by what I feel, not by my logistics kana logic. kuti alright ndezvipi chaizo chaizofana kuitwa nemunhu. Saka zvinozongodzoka pakuti we are not having this education. Rega hedu zvigonzi my people are perishing because they are lacking knowledge. Vari kunakirwa and you'll be feeling so pity because unenge wakuziva at that age unyazoziva kuti munhu hauna kwaachaenda. Chero kampa maexamples ari practical kuti ninga wako ingawani nukuna akazomboita ma-STIs, you'll be like iwe shamwari ndokunonzi kupuza irarana nhingina uzive kuti anorware. Havana that sense yekunzwisisa kuti pane dzinyaya dzisingataurwe. Uye anofunga kuti anoscreena neziso rake, especially the issues to do with sexual reproductive health. Anofunga kuti anhinga uzive kuti anomwa mapiritsi here irarire naye angasina kureva kuti nhinge wasingazive musi wanosangana naye anorara naye. Nhinge waanoziva kuti anomwa mapiritsi ndo wasingarare naye and vanovachivapa matems. So akufunga kuti kwake kungwara kurwara kana kusangana nema-issues ane chekuita nekusanaka kweutano as far as ma-issues ane chekuita nebonde ari concerned. Anofunga kuti kupusa. Yet it's actually lack of information. You try to inform them there is this other way around. You can do it wisely. Use condoms you and open gachikudza achitoimba achienda nediwi zvake kuti tifitwe nemacondom. Thank you.
Really worrying. Yes, Louis.
Okay, so when we look at youth or young people, sexuality and SRH, right, sexual reproductive health, you know, they have this statement, all right, we have this statement. We make a statement, YOLO, you only live once.
Yes.
But if we as youths were told, so you live every day, but you die once.
Thank you.
This would have helped us because we have noticed, all right, as youth advocates, and we go around, we ask around. Besides that, we just liaise Nevanhu and when they talk about these issues, inini chinhu chandingatongotyika zvangu isiki asi ndinotowana ndotoenda kunorova midzi and it's not protector from that. Yes, it's happening in Mrewa and yeah, ndinotorova midzi and so you have to understand kuti as youths, because we didn't get this knowledge from our parents, we are now getting it from somewhere else. And so when we look at sexual health and reproduction, and we look at this in a way it really doesn't concern us. We see ourselves as immortals, as demigods, and then ukamuona chifamba papa ukamuudza, if you try to talk to the peer about SRH or about sexuality, vanokudza kuti zvonzo like zvataurwa na Matthew kuti condom ari ndifite kana kuti wakambodya lollipop riri plastic here. And wakamboridya riri plastic here but aya zvanzi why because hapana chandiri kutesta and saka chii chauri kuda inini chandiri kuda ndo chiri mukati meplastic ndo lollipop racho and but at the end of the day imwe nyaya inenge yakuitika ndeyekuti where are we accessing our information and is our sources ari kunyatsoita here and we look at the way where we get our information ndobva ndatarisa kuti alright, where are you getting it? Wewo kuzviziva sei and rinozoputika wakamboenda here kuhospital kuclinic or kwatiri obva wabvunzwa kuti rinopfekwa sei condom racho since iwo wati zvonizvo inini hangu ndotoda kutoita ndikasaita izvozvo zvakatoendwa handitokwanisi. Some of youth achiti zvonizvo inini to relieve stress I need to have sex. Mungozvinzwisisa kuti inini to relieve stress I need to have sex kuti ndifile ndifunctionable kuti I need to release that negative energy, so I release it through sex and so we are looking at where are we getting our information and that's where we look at SRH and as young people and our sexuality. Are we getting our information from the right sources? Since our parents can't do this anymore, or your parent can't do it, and where are you getting it? You feel good, all right, this is what is happening. Ndiende ku hospital, ku clinic kwacho, all right, I'm getting there, ndokisangana na mainingi, and but kwane areas ekuti you can go, your confidentiality is there and but the fact yekuti zvonzo ndaonekwa ndichienda ikoko inonyadzisa and I can't go kuti ndinotora condom pa window and because it's riri pachena and then everyone is like no and so at the end of the day takutarisa futi kuti zvonzo what do we say as our youth and then we look at our culture and as youth and our culture we look at kuti munhu akabata condom ndikafamba ndakabata box rema condom nyangwe ndakapfeka t-shirt ndakapfeka youth advocates. Nyangwe vanhu vachizviziva kuti ndiri youth advocates. Vanoti asi kamwana kakanezura kakakutofamba nemakondomu. Anditi ndikafamba ndikati zvonzvo we need to talk about this. Anditi vabereki vanoti zvonzvo aiwa culturally we don't talk about this. Anditi but culturally our parents and our aunties and our tetes were there kuti zvonzvo vatidzidzise this. Yes. So you are taking they are taking a certain piece of culture so that it can suit them and not suit everyone at the table. And we are bringing culture to the table kuti ifite yo what you want, not what I want. Haukwanisi uri mukomana haukwanisi kuenda kuna mai kuti unotaura nezve pabonde. Alright, ko kuna baba, babobo watu wakundijairira. And so that's where we get a lot of problems as youths when it comes to SRH, as when it comes to our sexuality, and besides the problem our parents, besides not getting the information there, it's where are we getting our information? Yes. And when you get it, is it relevant? And we shouldn't keep ourselves as immortals. We are not immortals. We are human beings. And you see a simple example of someone go pa Google, and anti Google, as we call it. And akuna anti Google. Google, after you do this, you are going to get this. And yes, it is giving you the benefits and the consequences. But as you look at that, is your information relevant? And as you get relevant information, what are you willing to do with it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. As tina ama young people, and sle tendency lana uthi vele i-condom lona ngalo libuhlungu. And for amankazana bakhona bathi i-condom libuhlungu. Ana condom liyangubatsha akinya ku rebelekisa. Okay. Anamo utoba usinothoma ingwetaba. Utoba usinothoma uri nthala ato muthola atoile usaberekisa condom. Empa utoba wena uyigobatsa abuwena. Instead of using that condom, uyaliala. And ekuliyaleni usumenza wena uthi njani la yabe le that sumnika that thing ukuthi vele mina la sesenze condom ngenxa yani wena uthi liya kulimaza yena kwanisa uthi amna le allergy le condom wena asuvuma la uthi asilale as long unjani asitestanga but wena you assume ukuthi hayi u right awumazela uthi esuka kimi uyangena kuba njalo ungena ugqokile na ko uyengena mayembe and khona apho ikho lapho esilenkinga khona ezithina amankazana laba abafana ikho lapho abalenkinga khona.
Yeah, so my last question before I get your recommendations is what I've heard young people talking about, and I want your honest opinions. And I'll give you, when we were growing up, we're being told you cannot get married as a virgin. And I've spoken to young people, both boys and girls, who are saying, no, I'm not going to get married to somebody who's a virgin, who's going to be teaching her how to do everything. I want someone who's experienced. And for some of us, it's a shock because I thought you'd want somebody who's got no experience, you learn everything together. But no, that's not, he's even laughing at me. Maybe let me start with you, Louis.
Okay. I'll tell you this personally, and then personally, I understand what you are saying, and I understand why you are shocked. But you have to understand kuti nguva yenyu mamuna tete. Tete vaiti paunongobvisirwa mari waibva vakuti muzukuru yakuno. So paunonge wane murume anochengetwa so. And these days ukawana msikana anenge ari virgin. And the next thing is ubadara mari and then maakutoenda kuhoneymoon. And kuhoneymoon, alright, there is this uyatotaura as my youth kuti unenge uchienda uchinorara nechitsiga. And so it's also, you know, as guys, it's not really difficult for us to learn these issues. But for women it takes longer because pane zvinoda kuitwa and so when we look at this issue, in personally on an honest note, I wouldn't want to marry a virgin.
Oh my goodness.
And why? Because we understand, yes, we understand. Being a virgin is not a problem, but it's what matters is the experience that you have. And we were talking about experience being the best teacher right now, and
who doesn't defend it?
Right, this is what we're talking about as parents. And you understand, as parents and children, yeah? I'm talking to you, Mama, and and Mama is saying, Lou, out in the right now. So imagine if I go and tell my mom this, Mom, I don't want to get married to a virgin. I want somebody who is a bit experienced. And my mom will be like, I'll kill you. And I will kill you. Why? But it's not about that. Number one, it's about love. Number two, it's about it's my house. I'll be in my house. And I don't need to go out there and look for better satisfaction out there than when I get it in my own house. And so because you want us to marry virgins, it's fine. Teach them before we right. If you don't teach them, it's not our fault. And the other thing is, pane what we call as youth, it's not a virgin drama. And pane this thing, it's a virgin drama. The first time you have sex with a girl, and pane zvaanoita, before you deflower, imagine there is a lot of violence in that room, and so most guys are trying to avoid that violence. And
violence
ukenda mumunda makarimwa mane chibage wakunokuwa. And less if you're getting something, it's better. And as long as when you get a person who's not a virgin, and the person, the spirituality, what really happened to a virgin. All right, she had sex a lot of times, but does she really love you? And that's the matter. I want to marry a virgin because she loves me or because she's a virgin. It's not about the virginity, it's about the person.
Wow.
And
Thank you.
Okay. Personally, I grew up in a Christian family. Yes. And when I grew up, I went to church. I was actually one of those kids. I was at church, and when I was in church, they told me, you get married, you're not supposed to have sex before you get married, right? So now you're saying we don't want to marry virgins. So who marries the virgins? Honestly, and on top of that, so I think, personally as a girl, right, me being deflowered, for me, I would say, virginity sometimes as a girl is your pride. It's you knowing, all right, I had many temptations, but I never actually fell prey to all that. And I'm saying I'm preserving myself for my husband. Because he's my husband, but my husband doesn't want a virgin. So that's food for thought. But then we also look at the fact that the virgins don't want to marry virgins. So it's actually quite a dilemma.
Yeah.
Because
I actually wanted to ask you to say, as a girl, would you want to get married to a virgin?
Honestly, Inini, I wouldn't.
What would an experience with you?
Being a virgin is already difficult. So you need someone who know how to make it less painful, and yes. So I would.
Matthew.
Zvakatanga zviri zvichinzi zvinyadzi tichiri kumahumbwe. Ndoda kungobudisa aspect yekuti zvinhu izvi it's like ndezvimwe zvekune mweya world iri so evil. Like tichikura, sorry ndakudzorai kumashure mbichana. Tichikura zvakatanga zvichinzi zvinyadzi. Mukazvitamure vadiki maitoti nhingi nanhingi aita zvinyadzi. Kureva kuti already conscience dzedu dzakatudzwa zvinhu izvi hazvitotaurwe. So ndoda kubudisa sense yekuti it's not only with the parents, like we think as the young people. We think it's not only with the parents, it's also with us as young people. Because conscience dzedu izvi hazviitwi izvi. Haugoni kufamba wakashama, haugoni. Izvozvo nyadzi idzodzo dzega, conscience dzinoita kuti kana ndakutora nyaya dzakadaro ndinotsvaga mamwe matems ekuvanturudza. Ekuti nyaya ichabudise zvayanga iri. I mean happy zvangu kuti vamwe vari kutaura chokwadi tiri pano. Asi tikanyatsodzoka kumashure zvakatanga zvichinzi zvinyadzi. So at the end of the day, hapana pazvisiri zvinyadzi at every point in life, especially given our culture. And go back at the aspect of Christianity, even with our culture. Hapana musi wadzinotaurika nyaya idzodzo. Then kana uchitaura nyaya dzakaita unotaura nana Sahwira, unotaura nana. Saka ndikuona kunge tane ma-alternatives ana Sahwira. Mashamwari edu ezira redu ndo maSahwira edu. So as we are receiving this information from our age mates, it's not as authentic as it's supposed to be. Number one. Number two, they are not
nyaya yangu iwewe. Enda kunyaya yangu.
Aiwa,
iwe unoda kuroora virgin here kana kuti
inini hangu I would say yes, a virgin, because I'm actually.
Are you a virgin?
Yes, I was about to say I'm a virgin. Yes, because I am a virgin. So I prefer a virgin.
Modzidzira mese.
Todzidzira because yekusangana nakafara kare zvandisingazivi kuti aifarirepi nanani nguva iyi zvichizopera nguva iyi nangu ipapo zvinotinetsei because ndinoona we are observing there is non-verbal communication. It's not only like tinongoudzwa kunzi ndakarara nemunhu. You can see nyange usina kumbozvita because you see the actions of a person kuti okay, this behavior iyi behavior iyi vanenge vakuita zvisina zviya zvatinoti zvinyadzi
zviyaasiwanza kubva kuna chidadiso anzi inangu ndoda kunge ndiri virgin asi kuzoroorwa nevirgin.
Ndakambonzwa umwe achiti haundigoni. Zvine nyaya izvozvozvo akakutarisa ngaitoona kuti anenge akupedza given the anonga haundigoni. You won't satisfy such a girl. I'm telling you, you won't.
Which
you
one?
Struggle.
The virgin?
Not the virgin.
That's
why I'm giving my reasons for marrying a virgin.
Okay.
Ndaifamba zvangu handingazotauri namazita evanhu hanzi haundigoni. Haundigoni. So it's actually a way kutokuratidza kuti you can't satisfy me. I have played you are not mature enough to satisfy a person like me. Exactly. Yeah. So at the end of the day ndinozongoti virgin yes. Of course havasisiko zvavo vanenge vari vashoma.
Any nangu, I won't prefer a virgin.
You want to?
Why? I won't prefer a virgin.
Hans, amen.
Okay. The reason is because them boys are my virgin. Uyakukhombisa lamhla umkhombi akubuze ethi walala labafana bangaki uthi angaze nilale lo mfana uyakukhanyela lamhla likhambe likhuluma kwabo kwesi sikhathi akwazi ukuthi ahlathulathulile akazaza kufonele futhi yabula kuzini le boyfriend tshani le boyfriend engaza kufonele ngenxa yokuthi yini uli virgin so mina i-virgin yani izalenzani bona bengasifuni labo singama virgin hayi.
Okay, 1 out of 4 will marry a virgin. Both boys and girls are saying they would want, they can be virgins, but when they're getting married to somebody, that person has to be, they have to have experience. Okay, as we wrap up our show, what is your final message? Particularly, I would want you to address us as parents when it comes to issues of sex and sexuality, the need for open dialogue, where we are saying we want to get to 2030 as a country having ended AIDS, but not having these conversations can be a stumbling block. What's your parting shot?
Well, okay, to our parents, I would very much recommend that they really do teach us about sex and sexuality. We get that at home. And I think if they were to actually sit down with us and have these conversations with us from a young age, we wouldn't come to a situation where we have a lot of unplanned pregnancies, where we have many youths having HIV and stuff like that. Because we're looking at the fact that if I talk with my parents, if I'm that close to my mom and my dad, I would come home and tell her about this boy I met, and she would advise me accordingly. And that's why I won't have you even to sneak around and do all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, I think we'll be moving forward to a generation whereby we have conversations with our parents, we have reduced numbers of teen pregnancies, we have reduced numbers of HIV and STIs as well. So I would really encourage parents to just sit down and have conversations with us.
Okay. Yes, Matthew.
Thank you, ma'am. Personally, I recommend that our parents become that which we need. Let them become the needed need. When we need a teacher, let them be a teacher. Otherwise, the world will become the best teacher ever. because of the experiential knowledge that you are having. It's no longer revelation, it's actually experience. Our CVs vakasatidzidzisa for sure anenge akatakura zvakawandisa zvavasina kumbobvira vakaona. So let us be comfortable, let them be comfortable sharing some things. Hazvirevi kuti takuva havasiri vabereki vedu, hazvirevi kuti taenzana tikatora nyaya dzakafanana, zvinongoreva chete kuti vane zvavanoziva zvatisingazive. Ngavapindure mibvunzo yatiinayo, ngavatsvage I know they know us better when it comes to zvinhu zvatofarira. Ngavatsvage those, I've seen maparties kazhinji mazana achaitwe at a family level. Kana akaitwa andu anonzi decent parties, hakuna party yakadaro. Ingoziva kuti hapana patiripo edu, zvimwe zvatozoita takumaparties edu sevana zvakadari, inyaya yekuti ndo inenge tori party yaitwa ikoko. Saka unotanga kudzidzira zvinhu zvakawandisa paplatform isiriyo. Saka ngavaite maparties nesu, ngavafare nesu, kwete kuti vanongobuda kuti hachambonofara kwakati. Kufara ndiko vanhu vakuru, isusu tinenge tichinzi hatifari. Kana tichifara ita mabhuku iyoyo, mazuva ano muri kuita online, maite nhasi maite. Havataure dzimwe ziri outside izvozvo. Kunge ndiri kuitwa a gadget or a robot. Yet I've got feelings as well. So I'm saying, let us seize this revelational knowledge, experiential knowledge thing, and have this knowledge from our parents. They are well experienced. So that is the way days our educator.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. When we look at sociology, it says the family or the house is the first place where a kid gets to learn. So it means when you are a small child, you are a blank sheet. So the blank sheet needs enough knowledge, needs enough education, wisdom to tackle the world outside. Because if you do not write on a paper, it becomes stained. If a paper is not kept safe, especially a bond paper, a white area, so what am I saying? What I'm saying is, as parents, why don't you become what is needed? You have to become what is needed for the kids. They have to know from you, because you are their role models, their first role model. Who do you want to be like? I want to be a teacher. Why? My mother is a teacher. And those careers, I want to be a teacher. So ukatanga udzidzisa mwana ari mwana mudiki, because you are the first role model yake, anobaziva wane experience yezvinhu izvi. Most of the parents variko manje mazwano, most of them, they had my teen pregnancies. They got pregnant, so they have experienced this. If they didn't experience it, they saw a friend experience it, at least 1 out of your 6 friends have experienced this. So you know the impact. So why not try and avoid mwana wako kuti aite the same mistake yakaitwa newe or ne friend yako? By what? By just kwenda mwanangu, you need to know this. Saka gara pasi ndikudzidzisa usati wabuda panzapo. Paunozobuda panzapo, like Zvatorons, I grew up in a Christian family, and Christianity, because Christianity was your barriers. You grew up uri upright, and those nongodo mwana foot from the parent. Grow up uri upright from your parents. Christianity is the church is no zoya after the parents have groomed you.
Yeah.
Okay. Zvatokumbira kune vabereki, and is that at least they try to loosen up and kutaura nesu ma conversations akadai, and nekuti at least tive free kana tikutotaura navo, and not to be very strict kuti anombofanira kuenda mumaparties, and unofanira kugara mumba kana usaende kuchikoro gara mumba hako nefoni yako.
Well, quite an interesting discussion, hearing the different views coming from young people, and they've really encouraged parents to say, let's have open conversations when it comes to issues of sex and sexuality. And parents, you have been challenged that be what young people need, and also be comfortable to have those often difficult conversations, and also to say when you're going to parties, why leave the children at home? They also want to have fun. So it's important that you also have fun with them, and loosen up as parents, and that way young people will be free to actually talk to you. So that's been our discussion today. Very interesting. Young people bringing out different perspectives. I want to thank my colleague Tinashe Mangwiro for assisting me with sign language, and to SlyMedia TV crew, thank you so much for holding the reins. Until next week on Tuesday, it's goodbye.